What do I think the top might be this cycle? Guys, you should go look at all my interviews over the summer, over the last few months. I said the same thing. I said, by the end of this year, I'm thinking around $100,000. It looks like we're going to hit that. So I said close to $100,000 by the end of this year. I do not think we drastically bust through $100,000 anytime super, super soon, maybe in December. But I think we're going to start to flirt with and start to pound against that resistance at $100,000. And then I said next year, 2025 is going to be a big year for Bitcoin. We're going to break 100K with authority.
In an interview, Jack Mallers returned with bold predictions for Bitcoin's future. Speaking passionately in his recent address, Mallers shared his insights on Bitcoin's trajectory through the end of 2024 and beyond, reflecting on his consistent predictions over the past months. He has long maintained that Bitcoin will close this year, flirting with the $100,000 mark, a significant psychological and technical milestone for the cryptocurrency. Mallers' confidence stems from his understanding of Bitcoin's unique characteristics, market cycles, and its increasing global adoption. He predicts that while Bitcoin might not drastically surpass $100,000 immediately, it will likely reach this level by December, testing resistance and setting the stage for an explosive 2025. His forecast for 2025 is especially ambitious: a breakthrough above $100,000, followed by a rapid ascent into uncharted price territory, potentially landing between $250,000 and $1 million. Mallers' statements are grounded in a history of accurate observations and a deep belief in Bitcoin's fundamentals. His vision aligns with broader expectations around the 2024 halving event, a historic trigger for Bitcoin's price surges. As he points out, the market is preparing for significant price discovery, a period where Bitcoin's value will be driven by unprecedented demand and limited supply. With his characteristic humor, self-assurance, and unwavering faith in Bitcoin's potential, Mallers sets the tone for what could be one of the most exciting chapters in Bitcoin's history. Watch clips from Jack Mallers' interview to gain more insight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for additional in-depth content. Thanks for joining us again. Enjoy the video.
Why isn't the price going up even though Saylor bought $5 billion worth of Bitcoin? Who's selling right now? That is a good question. Now listen, people ask me all the time, Jack, why does the Bitcoin price go down? Well, it's very simple. The Bitcoin price goes down when more people are selling than buying. The Bitcoin price goes up when more people are buying than selling. That is a joke, but it's the truth. That's what a market is, especially a free one. Bitcoin's the most free market in the world. It's a return to first principle thinking. It's a back to the basics. Bitcoin goes down when more people want to sell it than buy it. That's what happened this weekend. That's what happened today. Now, why would these people want to sell? I don't know. You'd have to ask them. But if you're asking me to guess, here's my best guess. Let me give you guys some quick alpha, some quick expert insight and expertise. There's been 4 Bitcoin halvings in the history of Bitcoin. Your boy, aka me, aka Jack Mallers, has been in 3 of them. 3 of them. So I've been around a long time. Let me tell you something. This is what always happens. When Bitcoin goes through a halving, that means the new supply of Bitcoin is cut in half. That means the mining reward, the reward miners get for producing new Bitcoins and finding Bitcoin blocks, gets cut in half. That means if the Bitcoin price doesn't double on the day that their reward gets cut in half, they start losing significant amounts of money. Now, did Bitcoin double on the halving day? No. Bitcoin, in fact, stayed around the same price range for all summer, right? If you guys remember, Bitcoin was jumping around between 40 and 60,000 for many, many, many months. Now, if you take half of a miner's revenue, half of their money away, what's going to happen? They're going to get in a lot of deep trouble. I was going to curse, kids show. They're going to get in a lot of trouble. So what we see through every post-halving cycle in Bitcoin is a lot of businesses and a lot of miners become distressed. And what happens when these miners become distressed? They start becoming Bitcoin sellers. They're taking their treasury, they're taking every single Bitcoin they mine, and they're selling. Just for simplicity's sake, let's say every single miner pre-halving kept half of the Bitcoin that they mined and put it away for savings, and they sold half of it for expenses. Well, after the halving, if you cut it in half, you're taking away the Bitcoin that they can save, and they're just selling it all. And then they're taking the treasury that they were saving and they're selling it all. And so usually you see distress selling post halving, and that lasts, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months, and then Bitcoin goes when it runs out of sellers. So that's for one. And the other is, I think $100,000 is a significant price for Bitcoin. I think you're going to see a lot of sell pressure there because it is such a round number. The biggest sellers in every Bitcoin bull run are profit takers. You always, and we can see this on the blockchain. We can see this with data, is you always see OGs, early folks like myself that bought Bitcoin at $10, $50, $1,000 taking profit. Am I selling? Did I sell any Bitcoin over the weekend? You guys know the answer to that. No, I didn't sell any Bitcoin, but we can look at the data and we can see that other people did. We can see that other people did. So I think it's a combination of resistance at 100,000. There's a philosophical resistance, mental resistance. There's also physical resistance in the order book. And I think that there's a lot of distressed businesses and miners out there that are living in a post-halving world that are trying to make ends meet because Bitcoin is not in the hundreds of thousands of dollars yet. That's my answer. I know it's a popular question, but that's my answer.
Jack Mallers addresses Bitcoin's stagnant price, despite Michael Saylor's recent $5 billion purchase. He explains that Bitcoin's price fluctuates based on market fundamentals. It rises when buying surpasses selling and falls when selling prevails. Mallers attribute current sell pressure to two key factors. First, post-halving dynamics force miners into distress as their revenue is halved. This leads to increased selling, including previously saved Bitcoin treasuries, which can persist for 6 to 9 months. Second, the $100,000 price level creates psychological and practical resistance, prompting profit-taking by early adopters. Mallers highlights that blockchain data confirms these trends. While these pressures hinder price growth, he remains optimistic about Bitcoin's long-term trajectory beyond current resistance levels. Jack Mallers acknowledges the possibility of a 30% or greater pullback in Bitcoin's price during the current 4-year cycle. He explains that such corrections are part of Bitcoin's inherent volatility, which drives both upward and downward movements. Let's watch more clips from the interview.
Do you expect the current 4-year cycle to have a pullback of 30% or more? I do. I do think Bitcoin is going to correct, but let me say, I think Bitcoin is going to drop more than 30% at some point in the future because I think it's going to appreciate that much. Bitcoin is volatile. Volatility is life. Listen, if you guys think about in medical, when you go to the doctor, they check your pulse, they check your heart rate. What does a healthy human look like? Looks like this. It looks volatile. It means you're alive. Volatility is life. What does a dead person look like? No volatility, no life. So I think Bitcoin remains volatile, especially to the upside, which implies also a little bit to the downside. So is 30% possible? You bet your butt it is. But that's because we're going to the moon first. That's my answer. What do you think of these collateralized loans with Bitcoin? I think collateralized loans in Bitcoin are a huge deal. Huge deal. Why do I think that they're so cool? Because listen, Bitcoin is close to $2 trillion market cap. That is $2 trillion of new wealth, new capital that's been created for people. 15 years ago, Bitcoin owners and holders have made $0. 15 years later, today, Bitcoin investors, holders, owners have made $2 trillion. That's a lot of money that people have made that they want access to, but they don't want to sell the Bitcoin. How do you get access to the wealth without selling the Bitcoin? You get a loan. And that's the same thing in other assets too. How do you get access to the wealth of your home without selling your house? Let's say, for example, I wanted access to this house and its wealth, but I also need to sleep in it. What would I do? I would get a mortgage. I would get a loan. So I think Bitcoin-backed lending is huge. Now, It's volatile. So you have to be responsible. You have to be an adult. You have to do math. Do not do it irresponsibly. Make sure that it's with an institution that you trust. It's not be hypothecating. All of those normal checks and balances. But I think Bitcoin lending is massive because everyone wants to hold Bitcoin. The number one rule, Saylor said, never sell your Bitcoin. But you got to get access to the wealth because there's a lot of new wealth created and people want access to it.
Meanwhile, Bitcoin climbed back above $96,000 on Wednesday, recovering from a recent pullback that had temporarily knocked it from record levels. The price of the cryptocurrency rose by 5%, reaching $95,886, while Ether surged more than 7% to $3,555. Despite Bitcoin's strong performance, it has often moved in tandem with the stock market. However, on Wednesday, it decoupled from the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite, which fell by 1%. Bitcoin's impressive rise follows its remarkable performance since the November 5th U.S. presidential election, with a 38% increase in value. It briefly touched $99,849.99 last Friday before testing the $90,000 support level earlier this week. Experts, such as Alex Thorne from Galaxy Digital, suggest that the bull market remains robust despite the potential for market corrections and regulatory uncertainties. Bitcoin's future outlook is driven by increasing institutional, corporate, and nation-state adoption, alongside a favorable U.S. administration for the cryptocurrency. Bitcoin has soared 124% this year and remains on track to hit the $100,000 milestone before the end of the year. Ether, which has outperformed Bitcoin since the election, has gained 55% year-to-date, showing a strong performance, but still lagging behind Bitcoin's extraordinary growth. As we come to a close, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin hitting the $100,000 mark? What do you think it will reach by 2025? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, share this video, and hit your thumbs on the like button. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.